This episode of the Boulet Brothers Creatures of the Night is brought to you by BetterHelp. When I'm navigating life's tough decisions, I look at the tools I've gained through seeing a therapist. Therapy has helped me through tough times and through times where I could just use someone there to listen. Therapy has empowered me to be the best version of myself and stay connected to what I really want while I navigate my Halloween 24/7 life. If you're thinking about starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online and designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. Let therapy be your map with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/brothers today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/brothers.
Now from Hollywood, California, the horror capital of the world, the Boulet Brothers, Creatures of the Night.
All right, so everybody who is listening to this podcast right now at home, you are getting a treat today because while you can't see it with your own eyes, we are inviting you into the set of our next project right now. We are actually recording live from this set, and this is without a doubt the biggest soundstage we have ever worked on, and hands down, the most incredible set we have ever erected for one of our projects. So, Swan, I have to ask you, when we first filmed the pilot of the Boulet Brothers Dragula, which, long story short, for those of you at home, that became season 1, did you ever think the stage would evolve into the type of place that we are right now?
Yes. No, I didn't know exactly what form it would take. Of course, that was just kind of like amorphous in my imagination, but we've been on a mission. We've been focused.
Yes.
We've been like pushing with all of our power and might, and we are arriving.
If where we started was a 1 on a scale of 1 to 10.
A classic. For those of you that don't know, because I actually don't know how many times we've done this on Creatures of the Night, this is a classic Dracula game. Like on a scale from 1 to 10. If you thought.
What number would you give this place?
I'm going to say a 9.
Yeah.
It's close to perfect.
I know. I'm wondering why you didn't give it a 10.
I want to leave some room because there may be things that I would love that I don't even know that I would love them because I haven't sampled them yet. But
it's exciting.
Yeah, this is incredible.
Yeah.
And honestly, even seeing the podcast equipment set up in this expanse, it's so powerful and so epic. It's just really exciting for things to come.
I am excited for everyone listening to sort of go along this process with us, and we'll try to talk about it on the podcast as much as we can, and then for them to actually see the outcome of it in the final project when it's revealed, they can look back to this time and say, oh, well, they were talking about this and that, and they'll see what we were talking about because it's very fun.
It's like we're sharing little secrets that we can't really share in our lives, but we've said it so many times across the world at this point. Every time we're in front of an audience or we do like a live version of the podcast, I love to say, we love all of our fans, but we love our podcast fans just a little bit more.
Right. I feel
because
like
they're smart.
Yes. And I feel like they're like our friends. So I like, hey, everybody, here's what we're up to. Here's what we're doing. I want to share it with them a little bit. But as far as what we have been up to since the last podcast, we've been up to a lot of work. But I have to say, I don't know if you've been paying attention as much as I have. Mm-hmm. I have to talk about this submarine and the submarine drama that has taken over the news and TikTok and everything. Have you been watching it or no?
I've tried not to pay attention to it, but you've reminded me about it at every opportunity.
I can't.
We're driving down the road. I don't even think you're cognizant of it. We're like driving. You're like, but do you realize how horrifying? I mean, do you realize how? Here, look at this video. Look at this video. They paid $200. Look at this video, and this is where they died. And you know what? You got to me because it's easy for me to put that stuff out of my mind. But when I'm like looking at that weird little cylinder and like how many people were crammed down in there, and then the power goes out and the pressure comes in and like just the horror that ensues, and then we're led to believe
comes to what I think is like the core of my interest in things like Dragula and reality TV and horror and fear. This is exactly all those things. So of course I'm morbidly curious about it because, at first we thought these people got in this tube, which you couldn't stand up in. And I mean, it was like as big as couple of folding tables or something, right? You were crammed in there, and there was this little porthole, and then they bolt you in. You cannot get out. They bolt you in, and then they drop the thing in the ocean, right? And you cannot open it until they get you back out of the ocean and someone cranks off the lug nuts.
I mean,
right?
that sounds like an extermination challenge on its own.
I know, and these people paid a lot of money to do
I think
this.
it was hundreds of thousands of dollars each.
So the thought was that somehow this little submarine got trapped or stuck or ran out of energy or something and got stuck on the bottom of the ocean floor, and they were just in the dark, freezing for I don't know how many hours, 72, 84, something crazy, which would be a disgusting nightmare. And, you know, all these people were talking about the sort of like things that could have happened. Like, you know, there's a dad and his son there, right? Like, one of them would die first, and you'd have to sit there and watch that. And then afterwards, you're just still stuck there.
Yeah.
I mean, this is horror. Can you imagine? And knowing that you eventually, it's over. You're going to run out of air, and that's it. I mean, what are you thinking in those moments?
And then you're down there with a corpse. Or how do you discover?
Or you're the last one.
Oh my God. How do you even discover that they're dead? You know, just voices in the dark.
Right.
The body stops moving. When I look at the other people, like you have to be your own master, right? Because of course there's like, it's tension, it's terrifying, it's nightmare, it's scary. You have to like control yourself, like composure. But what if the people around you like start freaking out?
Of
like
course.
what if they start losing
would.
it, like screaming
What
and
do you
just
do?
going nuts? I know. I mean, that's
In a tube.
That's the mania.
In a little tube. Yeah. Anyways, that's terrifying. But today we just found out what actually happened. So as of the time of we're recording this, they just found out that, well, this is what they're saying, that the thing imploded. And apparently that is instantaneous and killed them. And they think that it happened close to when they were dropped in. So that's good, at least. I mean, it's not good that they died, but that really elite, because honestly, I was thinking about them down there, and I was like, that is giving me that, like,
The existential dread.
Give me like total existential dread, like that's even possible. But I guess we can all celebrate that they actually just died instantly. No, but you know,
no, that's what I saw the thing. I saw so many reports and stuff, and then they had like these morticians and other like death experts talking about, well, what happens to a human body on implosion? And
thank God for the morticians of TikTok.
they're so educational, so visually entertaining as well. And
with the green screen, they're glitching in front of it.
The one that I saw, she was like, well, the human mind wouldn't be able to like calculate what was happening before they were dead. I'm like, okay, well, that's not a bad way to go.
As her wig is glitching like Terry Joe. It's amazing.
And that's why we love it.
So, okay, here's the thing about it, right? They said they found out, and that's what it was. There's a little part of me. There's a little part of me that doesn't believe it. There's a little part of me that thinks they actually did just sink to the bottom and ran out of air. And because here's why. Do you remember the last couple of days, they were like, we're hearing this knocking, and the knocking is Morse code, and it keeps happening every half hour. And so we're going to add more people to the search. Okay, cool. So they add more people. Oh, we keep hearing it. Oh, actually, no, they're all dead. And I'm like, no, wait a minute. So where was the knocking coming from? That kind of makes me wonder, you know, would the government sort of like say, just to put people's minds at ease, they imploded just so that you don't worry about it and you don't think about it? I mean, do you think that's possible?
I definitely do. Like a psychological blanket, a blankie.
Yeah.
For the world. Are they down there with the Atlantean ghosts? Are they down there with the extraterrestrials? Probably. I say yes.
Okay, sure. I'm sure you believe that. Now that you're done fucking with me, let's move on to the next topic, which is
a little program that was nominated up for your consideration for the Emmy Awards this year.
Yes.
The 75th anniversary Emmys. That's right.
Not nominated.
Right.
Up for consideration
Up for
to
consideration.
be nominated, which is a couple of steps closer.
Yeah, it's still super exciting. I mean, to see our name and the name of Dragula on the ballots, it's really a moment for us.
Yeah, so we are up as best hosts of a reality show, which is amazing. Congratulations.
Congratulations, darling.
And we're up for best reality TV competition show, too. And we're actually up for other things like costume design, makeup, other things like that too. But I don't think they announced those at the same time.
I mean, it's an honor just to be in the group of other people that are up for consideration. And also, it kind of just reminds me how creative the show is, not just on our end, just the competitors, people that come in for costumes, all of the sets, the places that we take these amazing artists and all the crazy things that we do to them. It takes a high level of artistry across the board in so many different areas. It's it's cool. It's cool to be and excited to be reminded of that.
I think so too. I'm really excited for the team and everyone that's been a part of the show. The cast of Titans, congratulations to them because they are a huge part of making the show what it is and getting it nominated in the first place.
You know what I think is the strangest thing about this whole development? That Titans is up for consideration even though we didn't drop blood on Victoria.
As the most watched season of the show to date and the most celebrated. But that's the thing. A lot of people that watch the show are not online people. I think that percentage is like 5% or something. They go into like message groups or, I watch so many shows. I don't follow any Real Housewives or I don't follow any of those people like on Instagram or social media. So I think it's a small select group of people that actually,
The vocal minority.
Vocal minority. Oh, I also wanted to talk.
The vocal annoying minority.
Also wanted to. You know what? I love those people. I'm going to say it now. Good for them for being that passionate and engaged because their engagement and them caring about. They just love the show. They're fans of the show. So I love them and I'm glad they're watching.
Vocal minority. I love your spirit.
I want to talk a little bit about Midsummer Scream because that's coming up.
Yes.
For those
I'm
of you
so excited.
that don't know what Midsummer Scream is, it's a huge horror convention. It's more of a Halloween convention, really, that happens in Long Beach. And it is the most massive convention of any kind I have ever been to. I have never seen so many people in a space like that in my life.
And it is so fun.
It's so
It
fun.
is so fun. And we came across it by accident, just driving down the highway a few summers ago. I don't even remember if this is like pre or post pandemic, but there's a bridge that goes across the highway that is like kind of like a sky bridge to get to one part of Long Beach to the beaches. And I'm like, what the hell? Like, what is that? Driving down the highway, I'm like, doo-doo-doo. And I'm like, it's a smear of black across the sky. And I'm like, what is that? And it's just a line of people, 1,000,000 miles long, everyone in head to toe black. I'm like, we need to go figure out what that is. And it was Midsummer Scream. And we got inside.
It's the first year.
And somehow we magically skipped the whole line, the Dragula's Dark Blessing. And we walked in. It's just row after row of witchy stuff and cool clothes and everything that celebrates Halloween and sculptures and knickknacks and tchotchkes and everything you could want and t-shirts and merch from all the coolest vendors. And then there's another area that has samples of all the haunts that are around in Southern California. And you can literally go into like miniature haunted houses in the summer. It's so great.
Yeah, and they black out the whole, it's like a gigantic, warehouse that's blacked out completely. So you feel like it's at night. It's really cool what they do. But the Boulet Brothers Dragula has a massive presence at Midsummer Scream this year. And so we're going to have, right when you walk on the main floor, there's going to be a huge set piece from Dragula there. A bunch of the winners are going to be there doing makeup demos and doing meet and greets at our booth. And we're going to do a big Dragula panel, too, with some of the winners from the show. I know for sure that Landon is going to be there. And Dali's going to be there. And Victoria Black's going to be there. And I think Saint might be there, too. But I think we're still working on that. It's going to be fun. I am excited.
No, me too. I can't wait. And that is at Midsummer Scream this year in Long Beach, July 28th, 29th, and 30th at the Long Beach Convention Center. So tickets are on sale now at midsummerscream.com, I think.
And right before that, actually, on July 22nd, there are stars from the Boulet Brothers Dragula that are going to be at Outfest as part of their annual trans, non-binary, and intersex summit. And performing on behalf of Dragula is going to be Coco Kane, Dali, and Landon Cider.
The ghouls are busy even when the sun is out, darling.
It's true. It's true. All right. Well, anyways, let's take a quick break, and we will be right back after these ads.
This episode of the Boulet Brothers Creatures of the Night is brought to you by BetterHelp. Sometimes in life, we're faced with tough choices, and the path forward isn't always clear. If you're like me, those choices can range from trying to decide what the best conditions for having drag artists jump out of airplanes are, to trying to figure out which creepy crawlies would make for the best on-screen star, or as seemingly simple as navigating tough conversations with a close friend or relative, which can feel like an extermination challenge in itself. When I'm navigating life's tough decisions, I look at the tools I've gained through seeing a therapist. Therapy has helped me through tough times and through times where I could just use someone there to listen. Therapy has empowered me to be the best version of myself and stay connected to what I really want while I navigate my Halloween 24/7 life. If you're thinking about starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online and designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapist anytime for no additional charge. Let therapy be your map with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/brothers today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/brothers.
Welcome back, my dirty little darlings, and it's time we welcome to the stage our co-host and cohort in crime, Ian DeVogler. Ian, darling, welcome to the show.
Ooh, I'm just back from my trip to the Titanic. I'm the one survivor, and I'll tell you, it smelled crazy in that sub.
And you loved it.
Oh, and I did every minute of it.
It's so morbid. Yes, it's horrifying and all that, but I'm like, y'all paid $250,000 for your death ticket.
Oh, God, it is so ghoulish. And of course, I love it. You know, it's like I'm obsessed with it. And, you know, hi, I'm not actually here when y'all are recording the intro bits, but, you know, I do hear through the grapevine what you're talking about. And I 100% believe that it was 96 hours of just staring at the corpse of your dad.
I'll show you guys. Watch.
Drac is running up onto the stage of the undisclosed.
No.
Oh!
Oh my God, it's so horrifying. It's my nightmare.
Oh my God. For those of you at home, Drac is literally under the stage of where we're currently recording from. Her face pressed up against the glass, just soaking up the last bits of oxygen.
Oh. I mean, literally, it's like being trapped in that back room on the tour bus for like however many hours until you die. But there's like 5 people in that room.
Wow.
Now we hang out in there, and there's just the 3 of us, and it's even then it's a little crunchy.
Yeah, it's a lot. I mean, I'm sitting on the floor, and you know, it's God.
And there's no tequila on that sub either.
Oh, we don't know that.
Oh, it gets worse.
Yeah, that's crazy. I can't talk about that anymore. But someone said something which I thought was really interesting online. They were like, what if in a couple of years, because you know people dive down there all the time, they find the actual tube and it's empty, but it's still sealed up. Then what?
My God.
Oh, Maguma.
Oh, Maguma.
What then?
Yes. Wow.
Oh, Maguma, what happened?
That is so crazy. I mean, I don't know. My mind starts to go to even like weirder and darker places. I'm like, okay, so they're hearing this banging, you know, it's like the SOS Morse code or whatever. And they get down there and, you know, they bring it back up. And it's literally just the one person who's been like banging their head against the side. And it's just like the corpses of all their friends and their dad or maybe their son. Who knows? Tee-hee.
Well, anyways, outside of, I think we mentioned UFOs, and submarines, and Atlanteans, what other news do you have for us this week?
Before that, it's a Cthulhu. It's a Cthulhu down there.
It was a Cthulhu.
It was a Cthulhu.
She had tentacles.
And what do you look like, a Cthulhu?
A Cthulhu with a moon?
Sit on. I'm gonna flush you. I'm gonna sit on you. Toilet bowl. No toilet on the Titan.
A Cthulhu with a toilet?
Once again, I'm sure no one at home knows what we're talking about. This is all a reference to Kendra Onyx.
Oh, they know.
From Titans.
Like I said, our podcast fans are smart.
They're smart, and we are not, and they know it.
Wow. And now that the Demeter has returned from its fated final voyage in the outback, devoid of its human denizens, but having arrived safely back with the devilish dames and their loyal familiar in tow, it is my distinct pleasure to bring you treasures and fineries from our fiendish travels, in the form of the latest news from the worlds of Hollywood and horror. Unpacking our first wrapped morsel from the depths of the darkened hull, it seems as though we may need to start preparations for our annual trip to Universal's Halloween Horror Nights early this year, given the latest announcement that this year's festivities will include a brand new haunted attraction based in the fungal frights of The Last of Us.
Ooh.
Ooh.
You know what it's going to be? I'm
tell
gonna
me.
They're going to make me wait, and then they're going to open it, and I'm going to go in a room, and a flashlight's going to come up, and it's going to be
Melanie Linsky.
It's going to be her. Shauna just staying there. Hi.
Hey. So, remember my brother?
Oh no.
Yeah, you're the doctor that delivered me, but fuck you forever.
I'm gonna do it. Watch that. I'm going to not even try really. I'm just gonna send an email, not even attached to a real professional email place, to her agent that's like, will you be a judge on the Boulet Brothers Dragula season 5? And I guarantee you she will be, and then I'll have to sit here.
Yes.
and be
Yes.
like, I was talking about your character. I didn't mean you. I swear to God.
Melanie Linsky can sit on your side of the judge's booth because Pedro Pascal is sitting on mine.
What is she even talking about? What
Yes.
does that have to do with anything?
And I will be right there under the booth.
Oh my God.
Oh, anything else, Pedro?
Well, anyways, that'd be fun if she was. I'm going to ask her.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited. I mean, according to the latest press release, they said that it's going to feature a variety of infected in locations from the video game and the show. So I'm very excited.
Oh, that's going to be awesome. I love
Yeah.
Universal, and I love when they add new attractions.
Wait, but you know what the best part is?
What?
I'm calling it now. When they hire actors to be the characters,
Mhm.
and it's like they're in their clothes and stuff, but they look nothing like. I can't wait to see.
Oh my God, like all the Michael Myers.
Yeah.
Yes.
Or like, remember
Oh,
they
remember
had,
there was like Little Myers and
then
Big
Skinny
Myers
Myers
and Skinny
and Tall
Myers.
Myers.
Yes.
but don't forget there was a Dr. The Myers is
Oh,
different because it has a
yeah.
mask.
Well, no, but the
he
body type
has-
is important.
Yeah, but he, you know,
There was the Doctor. There was
Yeah.
a
there was
Dr.
a Dr.
Loomis.
Loomis
Yeah,
impersonator.
Loomis is yes.
Wait, do you think could I potentially audition to be one of the Ellies?
Yes.
One of the what?
Listen, I know just the
Ellie.
wig. Look, I know just the wig you need, and you'll be transformed.
What's an Ellie? I'm lost.
You know, Ellie from the show.
Ellie, the main character, the girl from Last of Us.
How would you
Maguma.
be her?
I don't.
Look, anybody
Anything's
can be.
possible.
Oh my God.
Anything's possible in
That is
Universal.
ridiculous.
It's cinema magic. It's Universal.
Up next on the lascivious ledger is definitely more Hollywood than horror, but given that the Boulets and I took an unofficial and independent Junior Mints movie club trip to the theater to see Across the Spider-Verse prior to our Australian jaunt, I thought that the news bite of the Spider-Verse editor, Andy Levitin, confirming that there are multiple versions of the film concurrently playing in theaters to be pretty spidey sense tingling. Apparently, to add to the theme of multiversal madness, different versions of the film have minor changes to certain scenes, which eagle-eyed viewers are finally recognizing and posting across social media this week.
I love that kind of
I'm
stuff. I
obsessed.
think it's so genius.
Yeah, it's like little things. Like I saw this one example of, there's a scene where, this isn't a spoiler, but hi, if you really care that much, don't listen to this part. But Miguel, the vampire spider from Spider-Man 2099 or whatever, when he's talking to the AI assistant, there is a scene where it's like she's like signing off. And in one version, which is the one that I saw, she just kind of like points at him and laughs. But then there's another clip that surfaces online where instead of pointing at him and laughing, she turns around and like takes a selfie with him. And there's like a bunny filter that goes up. And there's like all these like little tiny differences. Yeah.
Cute.
Well, damn, Drag.
What? I can't say something about every item. We'll be here all night. Hurry up.
Wow. And for the last rites prior to the ship sinking here for the evening, Creatures of the Night listeners with a penchant for anarchy and film memorabilia collecting can start their online and telephone proxy bids for over 1,400 screen-used props by Prop Store, which is one of the world's leading film and television memorabilia companies, with their horror-heavy auction featuring items from, get ready, Poltergeist, The Thing, the original starring the schnack himself, Kurt Russell, Halloween H2O, Freddy vs. Jason, Saw 4, the 1987 Hellraiser, and 1991's The Addams Family, just to name a few. The in-person auction starts today, was when this episode is published, and runs until Friday, June 30th, so please excuse me while I sprint to the auction house here in LA.
It's here in LA?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we have to
That's
go
exciting.
to that.
You know
Yeah.
what? You know what's up for auction too?
What?
Is Loris's ripped off rabbit face by choice?
Not
There
made
is
not
a-
tonight. Made famous in season 1, the pilot season.
We
of Boulet
have
Brothers Dragula.
a medic on set of where we are now who at first did not know anything about us or the show or anything. And somebody must have told her something because I was walking by and I'm like, bitch is out here watching season
She
one.
literally was binge watching the entire
and she
series.
was, and I swear, as the day went by, I'm like, she's looking at me very differently. But
She made it
hear
through seasons
she
1
loved
and
it.
2.
She watched both seasons.
I know that
Yeah.
she's deep into season 2. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. I love it.
It was so funny. She asked me, she was like, so I'm watching season 2, and is all that real? All the fighting? And I was like, yeah, we just dropped them into the boudoir and they just fucking went at it. She's like, oh, this season's crazy.
Abhor was like, y'all ain't got no story producers? Well, I'm all the story producer you need. Fuck you, bitch buddy.
You're not a monster, though. Iconic.
Okay, well, with that, I think it's time we dive into this episode's Junior Mints Movie Club review. And I have to announce this because as of this moment,
Yes, Drac?
the Junior Mints merch collection is now live.
Yes.
And Ian is actually drinking out of our Junior Mints tumbler, which that thing is fierce.
It is super. I am really
Mama,
impressed.
describe it for the listeners at
The
home.
This is like a
quality.
$50 cup, and I did not know that it was going to be all that.
Yeah, and there's 2 versions of it. This one is it's like iridescent and bejeweled, and there's also a what is it? The upgraded matte black one with the embossed logo. Mama, girl, diva.
Well, first of all, it's huge, like one of those like Venti Ornea, whatever the new like big size is.
Ornea.
Ornea.
The
Ven-
Ornacia
the
Supreme.
Venti Ornacia Loris.
Oh my god! Actually, I'm
Supreme.
gonna pour my water into here. Hold
You
on,
should.
for a little
I think
MSAs.
it's insulated so that it doesn't sweat. It's
Which is a
it's
big thing for me.
Yeah, it's a double, and it's environmentally like conscious too because you reuse this. Now let's just hear that.
Oh my God. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. So if you're interested in getting any of the Junior Mint stuff, get it online while you can because there's a limited number. We have pins, we have our snack pack, and we have our drink, all of which will save you in spending money at the movie theater, which is how we designed it.
Oh my god! It even makes my drink taste better.
Ooh. Okay, so
No, like just 2 more seconds though. It's so cool because it's iridescent and it's like 3-dimensional. It's got like a texture all over it. And the Boulet one is super cool because it's matte. It's black on black on black embossed. It's so cool, and I love that.
And we haven't even talked about the fact that it has the official Junior Mints Movie Club logo on it.
Yay!
We've been cartoonified, and Ian's part of the logo. It's so fun.
I love it.
Yeah, it's really cute.
Okay, so this week we've chosen Daughters of Darkness as our film du jour, and it's a 1971 erotic horror film that is based around an aristocratic vampire seductress in her romantic, murderous adventures. We chose this movie because 1, it's one of our favorites, but 2, it keeps coming up recently. Betty of Boulet Brothers Dragula Season 4 Bitter Betty fame, hi Betty, recently mentioned online how we look like the characters from the movie after we posted something about it, and I just thought it was time we finally reviewed it, right?
Yes, and hi Betty, and really good eye too. Because I remember,
It's true.
No, it is true, and we discovered Daughters of Darkness way after we were manifesting as the Boulet Brothers, and I'm watching, and I'm like, you need to pause this right now. I mean, look at the fashions, look at the hair, like, and over and over. Like, the whole movie is very romantic. It's beautiful. It's definitely not a perfect film. I think they have great ideas. I think it's best viewed from a distance, right? The details are kind of a little fuzzy, but the fashion and the hair and the glamour, it's so Boulet. Circa 1971, seen through the lens of vampiric lesbians from Europe.
All right, so the plot is that we essentially have this vampiress, Elizabeth Bathory, and her sort of lesbian vampire lover, Ilona, and they descend on a quiet seaside town that seems to be abandoned, like during the wintertime. And they stalk a newlywed couple. And this is like the era where the lesbian vampire theme really started to establish itself as a genre. And I was curious what you all thought of the relationship between Elizabeth and Ilona. Like, was she a thrall or was she a full vampire, or what do you all think?
What do you think, Ian?
At first, I was confused. I wasn't sure where Ilona's powers lied. I guess I'm going to say that I think that she is a vampire, but it's weird because, as we'll get to later, there is a character who becomes a full-blown vampire, and I guess I would consider Ilona's powers to be more along the lines of like a familiar or a thrall, especially given the fact that they dispatch of her very, very easily at one point in the film.
True, but I mean, I'm not going to spoil it for actually, everyone's probably watched it, that's listening to this. you know, they all of them are sort of easily dispatched compared to
Mhm.
traditional vampires, right? Although the way the lead vampire dies would be more of a traditional, like, you know,
Mhm.
wood stake through the heart kind of situation, ironically. But not Alona. She died in a more like traditional, I guess, way, right?
Well, she does get. I mean, I think that you can draw the conclusion that her death is sort of classic in that I think it's like a death by silver and a death by like an impalement, even though it's done in a really sort of like wah wah, like she like falls on the knife.
And this goes back to my original statement, which was I appreciate this film from a distance because the ideas are so beautiful. I actually kind of wiggle with joy at so many moments of this film because you can see what they're trying to do, and they're just doing it with like one hand tied behind their back. Who knows what the budget is? It's low. You know, it's very lo-fi vampire. We don't see like powers demonstrated. They don't have super strength or mesmerization. No one's flying. We're not even really, you don't even really see that much blood in the film, but it's like this romanticized, soft, very feminine representation of vampirism.
Maybe they were sort of coming at it from a different point of view because for us, we think of vampires after all the media we've consumed over the past 20 or 30, 50 years since that movie's come out. But maybe the director or writer's perspective on vampires or what they would imagine them to be isn't all flying through the air with claws. And maybe it was just a matter of I drink blood and I live forever, but I don't necessarily have any other kind of extended power.
Yeah, we've seen this too, like the ability to mesmerize and kind of bewitch. These vampires had that, you know.
More
we
psychic
see it.
vampire.
Yeah, Elizabeth can sort of befuddle and sort of like confuse Valerie, and she's like, "I'm a different person when I'm around her." And to answer the question, I think Ilona is a full vampire, but I just think she's a reluctant vampire. She seems to be tortured by the existence and wants and is somehow under the thumb of Elizabeth and under her control. She begs to be let go. Please, what's the line?
Oh my god, my favorite line from the film. It's like a non sequitur. Like they're not even talking about anything. She goes, "Oh, I wish I could die."
I laughed. I was like, that's Swan every morning when we go to work.
It's true. On the days off, I'm so excited about existence, but on my way to work, I wish I could die.
So the premise seems to be that Elizabeth has found a new figure that she is intent on turning into her new vampire concubine and companion. And this is really a story about how she manipulates the characters around her to see that destiny manifest. What did you all think of the way the story unfolded?
I think it's kind of exciting. It's very romantic. I think the whole thing is romantic, right? And there's something kind of spellbinding and enchanting about this location of this seaside hotel, which is opulent and old. You know, it has like a kind of a power visually on its own, but deserted, like completely lifeless. There's only one person there, and it's the caretaker. The beaches are empty. You see this weird shot of like a boat like way out in the ocean, and it's like life, but like life just removed times 50. You're so far from it. I don't know. I think it's a very interesting setup to say that it's almost fated that these couples cross paths.
Yeah, that was the thing that I was struck by, is when Elizabeth Bathory shows up at the hotel, she makes some remark that's like, there's no way that anyone could be here. Give me the royal suite. And the concierge, who remembers her from 40 years ago, is like, oh, I'm so sorry. There is a couple. And then the camera whip pans over and you see them. And that's the thing that I really love, is I feel like for a film that was made in the 70s, and not that classic film can't be beautiful, but I was so taken aback by how beautiful the film is. Like, there is just this like magical, classic, almost like magazine quality to some of the shots. I was like, this is fucking fashion, mama. Mama, maguma.
I think that this is maybe one of the things that the movie does best, is really effectively transports you into a different place than where you are. Like, I feel like every time I watch this movie, I find myself sort of like feeling present in the movie, like the score and the lighting and just the locations, and it just feels very real. And I think they do a really excellent job of bringing you into a different world.
I agree. And there's another thing to it too, something that I can't think of sort of over and over when I watch it. I get spellbound. I mean, I literally say it. I'm like, her face. what a face. I'm like, oh, look at her lips. And I think
Elizabeth Bathory?
No, mostly Ilona.
But I
Ilona
agree.
is so hot. Oh
yeah,
my God.
I'm like, what a fucking stunning creature.
Mm-hmm.
But so many of them, like Elizabeth Bathory is gorgeous. Ilona is gorgeous. Valerie is gorgeous. I mean, even like Ethan.
Even Stefan.
Stefan, yeah. I'm like, at first I'm like, oh my God, he's like so unattractive. And then you see him in different lights and I'm like, wait, his face is really interesting. And I think this is like unconventional beauty.
And she does have a juicy ass too. There was one shot I was like, oh my God, mama, that thing is jumping.
So, do you think Elizabeth was a villain?
I'm going to say no. I mean, okay, I think that objectively, she is the villain of a story. You know, I think that she's connected to a number of murders of young women in Bruges, and then also throughout history, they connect her. You know, hi, she's literally Elizabeth Bathory. But in the context of the story itself, she is the liberator of Valerie. Stefan sucks. Like, he is like a total piece of shit, and she liberates Valerie and, you know, kind of empowers her to be like, oh, hi, like, you can be powerful too, even though you're sort of with me. But then she kind of goes away, and Valerie becomes this ultimate vampiress. And, you know, hi, as a gay guy watching this, I'm like, oh my God, she, like, Elizabeth did nothing wrong. Like, yes.
Well,
She's the only crime she's guilty of is being too fabulous.
I'm just slaying.
so let me ask you a question, right? So if there's like a wolf that lives in the woods,
Mhm.
that wolf will eat rabbits and other things and kill them and eat them and whatever. And we don't think that that's evil, right? So if you are turned into a vampire and it is now your nature to do these things, are you evil or are you just sort of a thing in the world that's part of the
Like a mechanism
cycle?
of nature.
Yeah. What do you think of that?
I mean, I think that's a really interesting way to put it. And when put that way, I think you're almost compelled to say, well, they're just following their nature.
Yeah, and even in the sense of sort of, you know, her relationship with Ilona, I thought about that and I thought, okay, in a way, you give someone the gift of eternal life or for as long as they're able to live, which is certainly going to be much longer than they would have had you not turned them, you know? So you give them a gift in a way, but of course there's prices to pay, but that's the sort of the thing with any gift, right? There's always like a good and a bad to it, right?
Mm.
So, you know, I couldn't tell, like, is she a villain or not? Like you said, she sort of steps in and helps this other character who's in an abusive relationship become empowered. You know, I don't know.
Mhm. I don't know. I think that I love the question that you're posing. And I think it's interesting. And I think that if you were to look at, you know, vampires just as an archetype or a trope, I don't think that all vampires are inherently evil, but I do think that there are evil things that they can do. It's like, oh, hey, like, okay, I have to drink blood. Okay, cool, drink some blood. But there's the scene where Elizabeth and Stefan are sort of like regaling the stories of like Elizabeth Bathory's cruelty, and it's like, oh, and she would cut their genitals off, and she would mutilate them, and all this kind of. And I'm like, okay. I mean, it's like
tee-hee, we've taken it too far.
But
yeah,
hey,
totally.
But I think that was part of her charm to tell him what he wanted to hear. Because remember earlier in the movie, Valerie, he was on the train with her, and she goes, I saw the way you looked at that body and that you were getting satisfaction from it. So
Yeah.
I thought that Elizabeth wasn't necessarily enjoying that herself. She was like, this is what this guy likes, and I'm going to get him on my side.
I
And that's
love
so
that
fabulous.
interpretation. I
Yeah.
didn't see that at all. I see it now, and it makes other things clearer for me too, because Elizabeth's voice is decidedly the voice of like a feminist. And she says, he is a man. He will see you the way all men see a woman, as like a thing and like an object for pleasure. But I'm like, wait, sweetie, like 5 minutes ago, y'all were just like, you know, oogling and boogling over each other, like tweaking each other's nipples, talking about torture. But this way, if she was like pulling those thoughts from his mind, it was almost just galvanizing.
Right.
You are
Manipulating
trash.
him
Yeah.
and kind of, But like, I mean, that was the whole thing, is that she was sort of like, I want this person. I want Valerie. And how am I going to make this happen? And it was weird because, you know, Ilona kind of, you could tell she knew what was going on and she didn't care. That's what I'm saying. It's like, yes, they were probably, you know, in a lesbian situation somehow. But then at the same time, she almost felt functionary. She's like, I'm your companion, but I'm over this. Like, it's not like that.
Yeah,
now.
it makes me think, how does the individual take to that new existence of vampirism? And someone like Elizabeth has been alive for decades and decades and loves
maybe they
it
both
and revels
were.
in it. But Ilona's waiting for escape, like the
Yes.
whole time since
Yeah.
moment one. And she even has like almost like this like prophetic line when the young couple walks in. She's like, It's them. They're more beautiful. Like you're gonna go with them.
Which I disagree with. I'm like, actually, you're hotter than
I
I know.
She's
both
so
of them.
I'm like, you are
stunning.
like full blown supermodel. Like,
You're hotter than both of them combined.
but I'm like, that mindset also makes you hotter.
There's
Right?
something that we haven't spoken about yet. It's the queerness of this movie,
Oh
even
my God.
outside of the lesbian vampiress
Oh,
element,
yes.
which is the character of Mother. Because when I tell you, I mean, it was a moment to scream. Like if you thought there was a surprise in this film and it had to do with the vampires, it does not. It has to do with this relationship that Stefan has with his mother. And it's like, well, call your mother, tell her that we're married. And no, I can't. You know, she would look down on this. No. And it turns out that Mother is a man
Yeah.
in France who has him trapped in this relationship. And I think what it does, it churns up like this self-loathing in Stefan. Like he's trying to be with a woman, he's trying to be married, but he has to go back to that, communicate with that lover. And the mother character is like, oh, she would never understand about us. Poor little Valerie. And what would you tell her? And it's like, did you do something foolish?
It's
And
foolish
it's like,
in Budapest.
yeah. And then
That's
and
amazing.
right after that phone call, he beats her. You know, you
Yeah,
see that
totally.
like that domestic abuse, and I feel like it reflects like what's going on in his mind about himself.
There's something that I don't know if you all caught, and I wondered if you did. At the end of the movie, and I'm kind of jumping ahead.
Oh, I mean, Swan and I talked about a thing at the end of the movie, but I'm wondering
Did you notice that when Valerie spoke, it was Elizabeth's
voice. Yeah.
You did notice
Ian
that.
noticed it, and I thought it was a bad dub, but I didn't pick up that it was her voice.
Yeah. So what do you make of that?
I
Did she
mean,
just want her body? Did she just?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, when you see
Okay,
that,
it's interesting that you kind of put it that way because that was my immediate thought. As I was like, oh, it's not even that this is Valerie. This is still the spirit of this vampires. It's Elizabeth, or maybe Elizabeth is several vampires removed, and this is sort of that spirit. But I don't know because I also like the reading that Valerie is now her own sort of master. But I did also notice that the dubbing. It's like the dubbing is so bad that I wonder if it's not even supposed to be her dialogue because
It is.
Well, no, I know, but
Oh.
it's Elizabeth's dialogue. But if that's supposed to just be like overscoring, kind of like what's happening, like it's not even that it's Valerie speaking. It's like Valerie's having her own conversation, but what we're hearing is Elizabeth talking, and so it's supposed to be like, oh. Like Valerie is sort of taking on kind of like this cycle continues.
I see. I mean, who knows? You know, I think they did it on purpose, but I don't know, like what the reasoning behind it is.
Watch like, if there's some sort of director's cut or commentary like, yeah, well actually the audio was so bad from that we had to use this, and like there's actually no real reason for it. We just fucked up.
did you love the moment on the beach when Ilona's body's getting buried and Elizabeth like splays out her like vinyl shiny back cloak in the moonlight and embraces her as that deep pan? I mean, what a gorgeous tableau. My favorite scene in the movie comes way late, and it's done so terribly, but it's one of the things that makes me smile because I see what the director was trying to convey, and I think it was good enough for me, and the idea is there. They're struggling, and Stefan is trying to take Valerie away, and Valerie is completely under Elizabeth's spell, and they're fighting, and the food tray is there, and this is Stefan's
yeah.
death.
Oh my gosh, yes,
So
yes.
there's like a physical fight, and he's thrown, and they're like trying to like kind of crush his head with that glass, like
The bowl or
and it cracks, and like he's splayed out in both of his wrists, and they're like the blood, and it's like the human feast is on the ground and the vampire feast is on the ground, and both of them just go for the vampire feast.
Oh, I love that you brought that
Incredible.
up because I agree. I think that scene is incredible. But the thing I love the most about that is that 70s color blood. I was
yeah.
like, oh my God. Because, it's just like, I think that now, like, blood in film is more realistic. It's kind of like a brown kind of color. But the blood in Daughters of Darkness is like giallo. Like, it's not even crimson. It's like cherry red. And the way that it comes, it's almost like acrylic paint. I'm just like, oh, it's so stylish. Darling
It's sexy.
mother.
It's sexy.
So
Yeah.
we talked about the movie being sort of sexy and seductive and all these things, and it being romantic. Like, do you think it's effective as a horror movie?
I think so. And it almost harkening back to what you were saying about your reaction to the story about the sub. It's an existential horror. Love is kind of freeing, but it can trap you. She says love can even transcend death. It has like an expiration date on it, and things come in and out of focus and in and out of someone's heart. And yeah, I think the horror is about existence.
I love that. I mean, I love the idea of horror as sort of like a romantic genre. I think that in terms of how we look at horror now, is it scary? No. But I do think that it's squarely in horror. It's isolation, it's vampires, it's kind of a murder mystery at times. And I found the sequence from the point when Ilona dies to when they come back to the hotel to be legitimately horror, where it's like, I mean, she doesn't even say it, but the implication is Elizabeth is like, Stefan, dig the grave with your bare hands before the sun comes up. And I'm like, oh my, and then he almost gets buried in it.
I thought they were going to bury him with the body. That was so good.
To answer your question, Mama, it's horror. It's fabulous.
It is. I think, look, just like there's sort of comedy horrors and comedy cartoons and then really graphic horror, this is a romantic sort of horror. But I do think there was moments that were scary. And I think that something about the sort of them being naked and the eroticness of it, but then mixed with the murder and the blood, it is kind of scary and weird, you know? I think
agree.
It's pretty effective. I love this movie. I think it's good. I hope people at home watch it. And the last thing I wanted to ask you all, because I know it's something that you will want to talk about, that very bizarre death and ending.
So abrupt. I remember the first time I'm like, excuse me, did someone just scalp my wig? Because this movie has ended and I couldn't believe what just happened.
I had whiplash the first time I saw it. I was like, wait a minute. I was like, is this the same movie? I swear to God. I was like, something happened. I missed something.
It's so funny because it's a moment where if it's just edited differently or scored differently, it's total comedy. Like, we were sort of talking about this earlier, but I just think it's hysterical that it's like, we must go. The sun is coming. Daybreak is here. We must go. And then it's like, all like, hi, obviously the sun means we're going to die. Cut to, we're just joyriding in the car, two lesbians having fun, and then the sun comes up and kabam, like, can't drive, ejected from the window, impaled. Yes.
And then
So
set on
strange.
fire. It was so violent, but like all that happened, a thing that should take a long time happened in like 2 seconds.
It was really weird, but I don't know. I thought it was kind of jarring and like unsettling because they kind of, you know, dispose of people in a weird way, right? With this, and they did it with
Very
her too, and you were like,
unceremonious.
this feels very weird. It's kind of like real life. You're just dead.
Yeah,
you know?
it makes me wonder, and I mean, this is the extrapolation to the extreme of, like you were talking about earlier, if the spirit of this vampire sort of transfers into Valerie, you know, could I imagine that maybe Valerie's power throughout the whole film is sort of like this untapped well, and then she becomes a vampire, and it's like, there can really only be one powerful vampire, so it's kind of like, hi, Elizabeth gets fucking ejected from the car, she has to die, because then when we see Valerie again, I mean, she's like, almost like total Dracula vibes, like her skin is super pale, and it seems like she's already come into her power so fast. I don't know, that's probably completely ridiculous.
And she's preying on another couple, which I'm sure there's some subtext there.
She's trying to find her companion, right?
Yeah.
She's lonely.
Well, my little darlings, do as you're told. Go watch The Daughters of Darkness, and you will be happy you did what you were told to do. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll be answering all of your listener questions. All right, everyone, welcome back to the show. It's now time to answer your listener questions. Ian, my love, please do the honors.
I wish I could die. Ellie asks, my question is, can you actually consume gifts fans get you? My coworker told me after the event it was a bad idea because you can never be too careful about the LGBTQ plus attacks. So I'm so sorry if that's the case.
I'm assuming this is someone that gave us a gift on tour that was a consumable, right?
That's probably a safe assumption.
The answer is I don't think it's a good idea to do because you just never know, right? So I think the sentiment is there and appreciate it, but probably most people would not consume gifts like that. Maybe if they're in some sort of sealed container or something.
I mean,
like
I
that.
think the sentiment is absolutely there, and it's still kind of a joyous thing to receive gifts, especially if you know someone like made them or something personal like that. I do want to admit that someone brought me a giant bag of gummy worms, and they've been listening to the podcast and they've been paying attention because I love like those little Sour Patch Kids and little rotten little worm treats, and I ate that whole bag.
Well, I will also say that someone brought us a full cake and everyone devout. I mean, if someone wanted to kill everyone on the
they could have
first night
killed
of the
the whole
tour,
crew.
it would have been over because everyone would have been gone. So there are certainly exceptions to the rule, especially I have noticed some nights when certain people around here on the bus get hungry, they will eat anything that is around, including all the gifted snacks. So I probably would say someone consumed your gift and appreciated it.
Ellie has a follow-up question. I'd also love to know some context behind your track, No Need to Argue. It really cuts deep and is so unlike all of your other music, which I love, and I just ordered the vinyl for your EP. What was the inspiration behind the track?
I love that song, and that is more of the music I would probably sing if I just was left to my own devices 100%. But that is not the case. So that was just like a way to sneak in something that we liked.
Yeah. And I think like so much of what we do, it's dualistic. So we can be hard and edgy and kind of on the edge of unexplored territory, but we can also be sentimental and sort of in the heart and hurt. And I think that's what that song's about.
Val from Boston asks, how do you tolerate disrespectful family? My mom's parents always misgender me, serving anti-trans realness from the right. I've tried and failed with these zealots, and any conversation beyond hello is a waste of my perfectly good evil. How do I serve my mature monster realness and grit my teeth through personal disrespect? I want to be at family events, spending time with those who want to see me.
That's a tough question.
That is hard.
And you speak about maturity, and I think you're kind of hit the nail on the head, but you know, it would take a level of maturity to tolerate that sort of stuff that maybe you don't have yet, you know, because I mean, it would be very demanding on anybody. Most people may not even ever achieve that because they don't have to face stuff like that. But, you know, one answer is you don't have to tolerate it. You could just choose to not be around them, or you could choose to control how often you are around them, limit it, and tell them why. But I also think it's important to, you know, you talked about maturity is to approach it with some wisdom too. You know, not everybody has the same life experiences. Not everybody is going to be as evolved as you might be in understanding people being different kinds of ways. So it's, you know, take that with a grain of salt, I guess, and maybe give them a little room, but only as much as you can tolerate without it hurting you.
Ivy asks, I was wondering if you'd be willing to rate which horror movie villain baddies are tops and which ones are bottoms. So should we do this kind of like a...
We should all do this one.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
So Pinhead.
Bottom. Yeah, bottom.
Yeah, I'm going to go bottom as well. Dracula.
Bottom.
Sissy bottom.
Top.
Ooh. Okay. Michael Myers.
Bottom.
Yeah.
I think that Michael wants to top, but I want him to bottom. Carrie.
Bottom.
Top.
I think Ian's right. Yeah, top.
Bride of Frankenstein.
What?
Bottom.
Next one.
Freddy Krueger.
Bottom.
Top.
You are ruining this game.
No, she thinks they're all bottoms.
I'm telling the
I guess it's
truth.
a safe assumption. Yeah, bottom.
Hannibal.
Bottom.
Hannibal Lecter.
Top.
I'm going to go with top as well for that one. Jigsaw.
Puppet.
No, Jigsaw's a person.
What? I thought it was a puppet.
No, that's Billy the puppet.
What? I don't
Jigsaw's
know.
the old guy. And for me, I'm going to say he's a top with toys.
Wow. Okay. I'll go with that too. Sure.
Bottom.
Oh my god. Okay. We're almost done. The Xenomorph. Swan.
Xenobottom.
With that, with the hidden mouth, pussy punching top.
She's the only one on this list that can actually suck 2 dicks.
All right, no. Cut it. What is wrong with you?
Oh my god.
Damn. Okay. Ghostface.
I think Ghostface is the top.
I think that there are multiple ghost faces, so I'm gonna say
As a general entity.
top.
Bottom.
Ooh. Jason Voorhees.
Bottom.
Bottom of the lake.
Wow. Also, I would love to see it.
Mommy from Barbarian.
Yes, Mommy from Barbarian. Punish top.
Top, yeah.
She's the last bottom on the list. What a fun game.
Amanda wants to know. Hey, you beautiful monsters. I've always wondered how you two and Ian met, and how did you become the awesome crew that you are now? Love you guys so much.
Well, we happened upon a sleepy town, and he was there, and he was assigned to us to help us as a stage manager for an event. And we used our powers to seduce and corrupt him, and then we turned him into an Ilona-type thrall, and now he's here, stuck with us forever.
I wish I could die.
Oh, Ilona, don't be so silly. Do as you're told and read the next question.
Yeah. Wayne from New Zealand, I assume. You're probably getting a lot of this given the current, all caps, canceled Titans tour. I'm extremely disappointed, but I hope you all have a lovely day. All caps, not. My wife has been waiting for 3 years for you to come to New Zealand. Now, 2 canceled tours. She has had her heart set on a meet and greet, has seen every episode of your shows multiple times, listened to all of your podcasts multiple times. We were going to buy one of everything you had in your tour merch, but I am most disappointed that my wife was that invested in meeting you that she has broken down in tears and is very emotional that you have broken her heart. If in any way you could find it in your hearts to contact her via email, I'm not going to list her email here, I would be extremely grateful. Maybe set up a video chat or something. Please, please do try. One of your biggest fans is broken.
Okay, so first, I want to thank your wife for being such a dedicated fan. I hate that we were not able to meet her in person, but I do want to clear some things up. Obviously, the tour, went all over the world. We still have other dates to go. But what you need to understand is that we, the Boulet Brothers or Boulet Brothers Productions or anyone to do with us, we have nothing to do with where the tour goes or why. Tour companies hire performers to come on tours with them. They produce the tours and they decide where they're going or why they're canceled or any of that stuff. We don't even know. They just tell us. So while I'm sad that we weren't able to meet your wife and understand why she would be disappointed, the onus is not on us. So you might want to message the tour company and tell them what you think because it has nothing to do with us. I just want to clear that up. And you have a little bit of an attitude, which I will forgive you. But if we ever see you in person, I might have to give you a little slap for that.
I loved Ian's. We were going along the question, and then he's like, oh.
I would love to go to New Zealand. So
we were also the truth is we were also looking forward to going to New Zealand. It's actually a part of the world we've never seen, and all I've heard so many times is it's filled with great people and tons of natural beauty. I really wanted to go. I do feel bad for your wife's heartbreaking, as that's something that she was very much looking forward to, and I forgive you of your attitude. I even applaud it a little bit because it takes a lot of boldness to write to us in that way, and maybe we'll do something about it. Thank you for providing an email address, and maybe we will use it.
Or maybe we'll send you a ghost head in the mail. Who knows?
Not.
Capital N-O-T.
Capital not.
Thank you for listening, everyone. And until next time, be sure to rate, subscribe, and review the Boulet Brothers Creatures of the Night wherever you listen to your podcasts, and especially on Apple Podcasts. We'll see you next time, uglies. The Boulet Brothers Creatures of the Night is hosted by the Boulet Brothers with their co-host and producer, Ian DeVogler. Engineered and mixed by Carlos Bueno, with music by Neuron Spector.